Offering authentic Jamaican cuisine to the residents of Pasadena, California, the Kingston Cafe is owned by Dr. Una Morris, a practicing radiologist and three-time Olympian. Seeing a gap in the local market for a Caribbean restaurant, Dr. Morris hoped to channel her love of cooking into the business, which she opened in 1992. After 20 years in the restaurant, it is struggling, and the dining room is usually empty. Keone, Dr. Morris's son, manages the restaurant, but the two don't always, or even often, agree on how the business should be run. He feels that his mother doesn't listen to his suggestions, and he's given up trying to discuss them. And while she is proud of her high standards, Dr. Morris's staff find her micromanaging ways slow the kitchen down, leaving diners waiting too long for food.
Remember, the salt is one of the most important things.
Not everybody can cook Jamaican food.
Dr. Morris is drowning in debt and has used most of the money she had set aside for her retirement to support the failing restaurant. Son Keone has persuaded her that a visit from Chef Ramsay may be her only hope. As Chef Ramsay makes his way to the restaurant, he stops to collect Keone and get the heads up about the problems the restaurant is facing. He shares that they are only doing around 30% of the business they were doing 6 months earlier, and that his mother's management style is the main problem. He tells Gordon about his mother's solo arrival in the US and her medical and sporting achievements.
So she's tough?
Yeah, absolutely.
How tough on a scale of 1 to 10?
35.
He drops Keone at the restaurant, which he thinks looks like a home as he drives past, and prepares to get started. Walking into the reception area, he is warmly greeted and led through a long corridor before being introduced to Una, or as he tells him to call her, Dr. Morris. He spots a bubbling dish of curried goat, which Dr. Morris explains was cooked by the head chef from the menu she designed, and under her close supervision. As he takes a seat, Gordon checks out the huge menu, which looks like an office document. He compliments server Matt on his British accent and asks why the owner is referred to as doctor, even in the restaurant. Matt points out that her medical office is literally based next door. Chef Ramsay orders a selection of dishes to sample and asks how the jerk chicken sauce is made. Matt confesses that the owner makes the sauces, and even the chef isn't allowed to know the secret ingredients. Gordon is concerned that Matt looks sweaty, and is told that Dr. Morris's insistence that staff wear long-sleeve shirts is to blame. As Chef Ramsay sits in the soulless dining room, the doctor oversees every step of his food's preparation. He starts with beef and vegetable Jamaican patties with the secret sauce. The dough is soggy and raw, and he describes the sauce as gloopy and gross.
They would fucking kidnap me if I served that in Jamaica right now.
Next, he tries the jerk chicken hot flashes. When he spots the same jerk sauce on his plate, he asks for it to be removed. The rice is overcooked, and the chicken is cold, bland, and dry. He suspects it wasn't freshly cooked that day. Dr. Morris explains to Matt that jerk chicken is supposed to be dry, and is served that way in Jamaica. She suggests that Gordon just doesn't know about jerk chicken. Finally, it's the $20 oxtail stew, which, based on the price, Chef Ramsay is expecting to be something special. Instead, it's bland, fatty, and served lukewarm. He's not impressed. Keone watches on and agrees with everything Gordon has said. In fact, he laughs with Matt that he has said it all himself in the past. Chef Ramsay shares his thoughts on the cold dining area and the soulless food, which he thought was an embarrassment and an insult to Jamaica. When Keone begins to offer a response, Dr. Morris is quick to shut him down.
From the get-go, I always felt that everything should be fresh cooked to order.
Okay, Keone, could you be quiet? He's talking.
But she is ready to strongly defend her jerk chicken, once again saying it's traditionally served dry. Gordon strongly disagrees when she allows him to speak, saying it's not traditionally disgusting or inedible.
Let me tell you something also.
Let me finish.
Let me finish my sentence first. I don't know what kind of herb from Jamaica you've been smoking.
Later that evening, Chef Ramsay is ready to observe a dinner service. Complimentary salads start leaving the kitchen, served in a martini glass. Gordon finds trays of them pre-prepared out back.
Oh my good God.
Jesus Christ actually gonna appear.
Gordon is horrified that the salads have been dressed in advance, leaving them soggy when it takes just seconds to prepare to order. But once again, Dr. Morris thinks she knows better. Gordon can't quietly observe any longer. He gets one of the kitchen team to make a freshly dressed salad and serves it in a bowl. When complaints about the chicken start to come in from a couple of locals, Dr. Morris has a simple explanation. If they're not Jamaican, they're not going to like it. Gordon takes a closer look at the chicken, and head chef Daniel tells him it was cooked the day before. Gordon says he wouldn't feed it to his dog. The irritated owner steps outside to discuss Chef Ramsay's observations with her son, who makes it clear that he agrees with Gordon.
Jamaican food cannot be cooked fresh every day. Do you understand that?
She worries that she might punch Gordon out. Keone assures her that wouldn't be a good idea. Back in the kitchen, Gordon takes a look in the fridges and discovers a mountain of plastic bags containing pre-prepared meat, bread, and vegetables. He is disturbed by the sound of the microwave, which one of the line cooks is using to reheat a portion of rice that had been cooked 4 days earlier. Gordon can't understand why the rice is being bagged when it comes out of the steamer and tells Dr. Morris that the practices are crazy. She takes exception to Chef Ramsay's comments, which she considers disrespectful, and continues to argue that her frozen food bags are an efficient way to run a kitchen. Gordon feels that she's running the restaurant like a hospital and walks away. The next morning, Chef Ramsay visits the doctor in her office next door to her restaurant. He asks her why such an obviously smart woman won't accept the changes that need to be made, and instead remains in denial.
I'm not in denial because I'm not in denial.
Dr. Morris admits that she's put over $300,000 into the business in the last 3 years, maxing out her credit cards and borrowing money to keep the restaurant going. She can only afford to keep it running for another month. Gordon wants to know whether, as the restaurant manager, Keone understands the financial state of the business. And Dr. Morris says that her son isn't telling Ramsay the truth, that he can't be depended on, and argues with her at every turn. She feels alone and is hurt that the servers worry about her more than her son does. Revealing that she lost her mother at the age of 10, Dr. Morris shares that she has always had to be self-reliant. Gordon is concerned that the pressure on her shoulders is too much for one person to bear, and he's worried that following her previous academic and sporting successes, the failing restaurant is affecting her self-esteem. Chef Ramsay assures her that he's there to help, something she's not used to accepting. Gordon now needs to find out how committed Keone is to helping turn the restaurant around. Sitting down to talk, Chef Ramsay hears that Keone is frustrated by his mother's refusal to change, and Gordon labels their mother-son relationship as competitive. Keone agrees, which surprises the celebrity chef, who tells Keone that his mother is the most important woman in his life. When he finds out that his mother's restaurant is close to closing, Keone agrees to focus on supporting the family business. And Keone is a key part of Gordon's first plan for the restaurant, running a patio barbecue to entice customers in the area with the delicious smell of fresh Jamaican cooking. That evening, customers are offered the standard menu alongside the new barbecue menu, and both Keone and the kitchen staff are soon busy, bringing out bags of day-old rice. The kitchen is struggling to keep up with orders from the dining room, despite the overuse of the microwave. On the patio, however, happy customers were enjoying the grilled dishes. When food finally makes it to the dining room, it soon starts coming back, with the customer complaining that their fish is dry and rubbery. Gordon sends out a portion of the barbecued salmon, which is a huge hit with the previously unhappy diner. After service, Chef Ramsay describes the evening as a tale of two restaurants, and decides it's time to end the plastic pollution in the Kingston Cafe kitchen.
There's more plastic here than in Beverly Hills.
Dr. Morris is concerned that throwing away the pre-packaged bags means throwing away money, but Gordon is convinced that the restaurant won't make it unless they start serving freshly prepared food every time. She agrees to trust them. Overnight, Gordon's team move in to give the restaurant a makeover and spend 9 hours updating the decor to match the fresh and exciting new food on offer. As they head into the dining room, they step into Gordon's beachy vision. Pale Caribbean blue walls, cabana shades, and vibrant potted plants. To create a more casual and contemporary feel, the white linen tablecloths have been removed and replaced by woven steel placemats and clean white china. And on every table, a bottle of Kingston Cafe's new jerk sauce. It's time to look at the menu. Gordon's new dishes bring color and freshness along with traditional Jamaican flavor. And he's changing the uniform too. Instead of a hot and sweaty long-sleeve shirt, Matt is relieved to be given a Kingston Cafe t-shirt. After the staff samples the new dishes, Gordon takes everyone outside to unveil the new sign, which is easier to read for anyone passing by. It's time for relaunch night. The dining room begins to fill up, and orders hit the kitchen. Food starts to leave the kitchen, and diners are happy. But tickets quickly start to back up, and confusion sets in, with plates being sent to customers who are already eating. Ramsay tells head chef Daniel to take control of the kitchen. But as he gets reorganized, Daniel is still sending out overcooked food. A furious Gordon throws a plate in the trash and asks Keone to oversee the kitchen. He organizes bowls of chips for the tables that have been waiting, but Dr. Morris is still trying to step in. Gordon asks her to step back and speak to the diners instead. Keone steps up, and his leadership gets the kitchen back on track. After service, Gordon is happy that both the dining room and patio were buzzing, and he's delighted that Keone stepped up to prove himself as the manager. Before he leaves, Chef Ramsay has some final words for Una. He tells her that she has to either make Keone a partner in the business or let him go. She has lots to think about. Dr. Morris is determined to make Gordon proud when he returns. In the weeks after Chef Ramsay's visit, Dr. Morris encouraged Keone to step back from the restaurant to focus on his education. Una has learned to collaborate with her staff and produce fresh Jamaican food with soul. When Gordon returns to Kingston Cafe a year later, he is surprised to hear that Keone is no longer part of the business. And he's not the only one who has moved on. Dr. Morris has fired all of the chefs and servers who worked for her during the relaunch, as she felt it was time for a change. But the business is doing well, with income up around 20%. Gordon tries some of the food and is pleased that it tastes fresh and spicy. And he's delighted that the fridges and freezers are still free from plastic bags. As he leaves, Gordon feels positive about the restaurant's future. Gordon visited Kingston Cafe in January 2011, and the episode aired 3 months later. It gained a 7 out of 10 IMDb rating, and viewers had strong opinions about Dr. Morris. Both her management and parenting styles were questioned and criticized. It's safe to say everyone agrees that Dr. Una Morris is an extraordinary woman. As a 3-time Olympian, highly regarded radiographer, and restaurant owner for almost 20 years prior to Gordon's visit, she was not to be underestimated. In fact, she's one of only 2 Kitchen Nightmares owners to have their own Wikipedia page. The other is Chef Luick from La Riviera. So it shouldn't have been a surprise that she took the running of the restaurant very seriously, even if she didn't exactly know what she was doing. The stubbornness and determination that had carried her through previous challenges didn't translate into a new industry, though. Many viewers wondered why she had taken on the restaurant in the first place. While some believed she wasn't doing too well as a doctor, others thought she just wanted to fill her empty building, and yet more thought she invested in the business to benefit her son. If that was her initial intention, it certainly didn't seem to play out too well. Viewers were particularly unhappy about Dr. Morris's treatment of her son. The term "thrown under the bus" was used repeatedly when referring to her passing the blame to Keone, when he was allowed very little real input into the running of the restaurant. And Gordon appeared to fall for it. Following an emotional chat with Una, during which some fans noted she appeared to cry but remained totally dry-eyed, Chef Ramsay called Keone aside for a heart-to-heart of his own. Gordon took the opportunity to remind Keone that his mother had sacrificed a lot for her family. And the celebrity chef shared that his own mother, Helen, was one of the most important people in his life, even if she too could be critical sometimes.
Little taste?
Oh, I don't like that.
Back to Keone and Una. Viewers felt that he was already an asset to the restaurant, and wasn't given the opportunity to show what he could do until the very end. One of the most frustrating arguments for many viewers was the dry jerk chicken fiasco. And in case you were wondering, the consensus of commenters is that Jamaican food can be prepared fresh every day. But as stubborn as Dr. Morris was at the beginning, many noticed a real shift in her attitude, particularly toward Gordon after their meeting. And Gordon quietly cemented that shift by dropping the doctor and calling the owner Una from then on, in the restaurant at least. Sadly, that softer attitude didn't stretch to the staff, all of whom were fired after the show was filmed, which raised questions with fans about the protection offered to featured members of staff. And sadly, there doesn't seem to be any, which leaves them pretty vulnerable. So what happened to the restaurant after Gordon's visit? Well, the reviews weren't great, and the restaurant was rated just 3.2 out of 5 on Yelp. So it's strange that the website boasted that they were the best Caribbean restaurant for 5 years, both before and after Gordon's visit. Though Dr. Morris did say there were no other Jamaican restaurants in the area. Common themes among the diners' reviews include slow service, along with portions being too small and prices being too high. The restaurant closed temporarily between November 2012 and 2013. And when it reopened, it appears that they slipped back into some of their old ways. Dishes were described as bland and were not hot by the time they made it to the table. Though the chefs had all changed, the confusion in the kitchen seemed to remain. And remember the plastic bags of pre-cooked food? It seems they could be back. There was a suggestion that the rice was being pre-cooked again. Gordon would not be happy. The only dish that gets regular positive feedback is the jerk chicken, which definitely isn't dry anymore, though it may not have been on Gordon's barbecue. Later reviews seem to suggest that the patio barbecue had gone. When the restaurant opened after a brief closure in 2013, it had been given a new dance floor and an extended menu. It also advertised a number of live music events. It seemed that Una was confidently investing in the restaurant's future. But apparently customer numbers weren't high enough, and opening hours were reduced to just dinner service on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And in 2018, after 26 years of serving traditional Jamaican food to local customers, Kingston Cafe suddenly closed its restaurant doors and offered only catering services instead. As a side note, there was a shooting outside the restaurant just before it closed, but it had nothing to do with the Kingston Cafe or any of its staff. Today, the restaurant building is a performance and event space called Refined Venue, which is rated 4.8 out of 5. And it appears that the owner is a man called Shay, so Una may have sold the business on. Though the furniture and artwork look extremely familiar. But what about the Kingston Cafe team? Let's start with Matt, the British server. Some people felt Gordon was unfair and unkind to comment on Matt's sweaty appearance. Others said he was so red that he looked like a boiled or roasted tomato. And one or two thought that Gordon was deliberately wearing a t-shirt that looked like he was drenched in sweat. Surely not. He was seen as friendly, competent, and professional. We hope he, and the rest of the team, found other roles quickly when Dr. Morris said goodbye to them. On to Keone. We were told by Dr. Morris that he left the restaurant to pursue educational opportunities. Immediately after leaving the restaurant, which he doesn't list on his resume, he took a job at Apple as a business development lead, before moving into brand development a couple of years later, both as an executive and an educator at Columbia College. It should come as no surprise that Dr. Morris's son is clearly a very intelligent guy. As well as being highly educated, he's literally a rocket scientist. Keone is a business thought leader. His recent roles have taken him from Los Angeles to London, and he has now settled in Lisbon, Portugal. He describes himself as a cultural futurist, as well as a brand architect. But what does that involve?
I look at branding as the matching between culture and commerce, finding a way for both sides of that equation to grow harmoniously and in authenticity.
Well, Keone's online branding is all business, with no personal photos or updates. But he did recently retweet a coded reference to the difficult relationship between Jamaican mothers and their sons. We are so happy to see Keone thriving, and wish him luck for the future. Although it doesn't look like he needs it. And what about the biggest character on the show, Dr. Morris? When the restaurant closed, Dr. Morris had more time to devote to her primary business, as a radiographer. She continues to work from her office next to the restaurant space, offering diagnostic imaging for women's health. And it's not a surprise that she's a brilliant doctor. Her practice is rated 5 out of 5. Reviews are consistently outstanding, with many patients commenting on Dr. Morris herself, and her patience and caring attitude. In 2020, Dr. Morris was interviewed by Cal Poly Pomona University, and she revealed that though she wasn't ready to retire, she was enjoying time spent with her granddaughter, her daughter's first child. Throughout her life, she's been no stranger to receiving honors and awards. Most recently in 2023, she received a national honor for her contribution to Jamaican sports, especially track and field. She donates her time and money to help promote diversity among science students, which is amazing given how much personal debt she took on while she was running the restaurant. So are there any signs of Una slowing down? In a word, no. According to Wikipedia, she's currently studying for yet another degree, this time in law. We wish her well for whatever mountain she chooses to climb next.